So now we are ready to start developing our bar chart. First, let's export class here. And we need a class here because we are going to use state. And let's start with render. And here we will return first them provider. And let's import it from style components, them provider. And we're going to take them from props. And as you remember, we have them specified here. So it's basically a bunch of styles that will be used throughout our bar chart. And user can pass these props and he cannot pass this prop. So in the case when user won't provide this them, we need to have our default one. So let's create a file named constants.js. And we are going to export here our default them. So export const default them. Let's make main color equal to white and scroller background color equal. Let's make it RGBA, some sort of transparent color. Alright, and the last one is label font size. Label font size. Let's make it by default 12 pixels. Alright, and we'll pass them like this. So first we'll unpack our default them, and then them that was passed by user of our library. So the user of our library can specify just some set of parameters. For example, he want to specify only main color and he don't care about this parameter. Inside of them provider, we will create our root container, and let's specify styles for our root container. So here we'll write const root container will be styled.div, and let's make it height 100% and width 100% and display flex and flex direction column. And we need to have ref on these elements because we want to know the width of our container. Yeah. So let's make it this way. Specify ref, and we will receive element, and we'll make this root container equal to the element. So now when we mount our component did mount, we actually can take width this way, this root container get bounds inclined correct, and this set state width. Also, we want to watch for window size change. So every time a size of our window will be changed, we are going to recalculate the width, and therefore we will add event listener here. Window, add event listener on resize, this on resize. let's create now on resize method, on resize, and here we'll simply take root of our component, this root container get bouncing client rect, and we are going to update our state, this set state, and with here, and we will also need constructor here, so we'll have state props and like this, and this state, let's by default width equal to 0. Alright, next what we are going to put in our root container, and let's write component inside of render method, so const content, and here we are going to check first if no width will return null, yeah, and we'll place it here. So if we have width, we are going to return React fragment. So React fragment allows us to return component without root DOM elements. So previously, if we want to return to React element, we would wrap it with div, for example. But now we can just write React fragment and return few components here. And here we are going to return a data container. So data container will contain our bars and labels. And here we'll return scroller. And we'll return scroller if user pass to our library show scroller equal to true. So if show scroller, we'll return scroller here, and something like this. And let's take this from props. We've taken this from props, and now we are going to. Now let's create file named data container, new file, data container.js. Alright, and let's copy paste. Now let's write our data container. So export default, and here we'll receive a bunch of parameters. First will be bar total width. It will be sum of bar width and bar space. Width will be width of our root container. Offset will be used for animations, and old offset too. Old offset, and we need to know total width. Total width, it will be like a number of all bars multiplied on bar total width, and start index. And start index is the index of first bar we are going to render. And children. Alright, now here we'll calculate left, so it will be total width. If total width will be less than width, we are going to subtract from width total width and divide it on 2. Otherwise it will be width plus old offset minus total width plus start index, multiplied on bar total width. So let's remove this. Alright, something like this. Left. Now we need to calculate width of our container. So container width will be total width minus start index multiplied on bar total width, and animation offset will be equal to offset minus old offset. And let's write style left and width, container width. And here we're going to return wrapper. Let's create styles for it. Const wrapper will be styled div. Here we'll have width equal to 100 percentages, height 100 percentages, and position relative, and overflow hidden. And inside of wrapper container we'll have data container, so our actual container. Let's write styles for this. Data container will be styled.div and height 100 percentages. Alright, position absolute, and display flex direction column. And we will need also animations here. So let's create file named styles right inside of our bar charts. New file, styles.js. And here we will create our animation. So we are going to use keyframes and CSS from styled components. And our bar animation will look like this. So we'll receive props and return keyframes. And we'll have only two here, and let's translate x. So pass props offset pixels. So you can mention this offset pixels. And let's export const animation style so we can use it in our data container, and also we are going to use this in our scroller. So let's export CSS and write animation equal to bar animation 1 second easy in out forwards. Animation. Alright, and now we are going to use this animation here. So animation style. Now we can use this data container, and we are going to pass offset that will be used by animation offset, and style. And the only thing here will be children. Alright, we are done with data container. And in index.js we forget about fact that we need to take it from state, from state, this state. also we are going to create file named scroller.js, and here we are going to import React from React, import stylet from stylet components, and we ain't gonna write logic for scroller right now, and we only return container. So let's write container, go to stylet the div, and have position relative, height 20 pixels, width 100 percentages, display flags, and align items center. And let's export default container for now. Let's now pass parameters to data container. So we are going to take them from our state and props. So let's write data container props, and it will be bar total width, offset, old offset, total width, and start index. Bar total width first, and bar total width will be equal to bar width plus bar space. We are going to take them from props, bar width, bar space. We have bar total width we taken from state, offset and offset also will be in state. All offset, let's make them equal to 0 now. 0, old offset also 0. Need to pass total width. Let's calculate the total width. It will be equal to total width equal to bars length multiplied on bar total width, and we are going to take bars from props. Bars. We have total width and start index. We're going to write function not to get start index, so let's write something like this here. Get start index will be equal to function. So first we'll write start index equal to mass floor total width minus width minus old offset minus offset, and if offset is bigger than old offset, we are going to take offset minus old offset, otherwise 0, and divide all of this on bar total width. So this way we are calculating start index, and we need start index in order to render only required part. We won't render everything. We won't render every bar and every label, because since it will make our library very slow. So we will render only parts that we actually need. And if start index is less than 0, we are going to return 0. Otherwise, we return start index, and our start index equal to get start index. And I actually use functions in order to make everything immutable. It's make development much more simpler when you use only const in JS. Now we have everything we need, and we can pass data container props to data container like this. Now we need to import data container and scroller from data container and import scroller from scroller like this. Data container. Now let's go through our component one more time before we'll check this out. Oh, first thing I don't like here is root container in Pascal case. Let's change this. Root container and root container. Also here we need to write functions this way, since we won't be able to access this here. And let's on unmount remove this event listener. Component will unmount window add event listener resize and remove event listener resize and this and resize like this. Now let's check this out. Let's inspect this. So we have our root container here and data container right here and a little scroller. All right, and let's console log read, so we will be sure that everything alright with our resize listener. So every time we change the width of our page, we receive new width in render. Before we finish this part, let's add container for bars and labels. So let's write bars view and let's write styles for bars view. So bars view, there'll be styled div and I'll have height of 100% and width of 100% too. And we need to know height of bars view. So we also gonna use ref here. So write ref and element and this bars container. This bars container equal to element. And let's update our resize. So we're gonna take width from our root container and we're going to take height from bars container. So height equal to this bars container, this bars container, get bounds in client rect. Let's specify here width and height. Alright, and also we need to write one more method. It will be component did update. Write component did update. Here we are going to take height from bars container, and if old height not equal to new height, we will set state to this height. And let's create container for labels. Labels. Let's create component for labels. Const labels. And we will have some logic here, but for now let's just return styled component from here. Labels container, let's call this labels container, and let's write styles for labels container. Labels container will be styled.div, and let's make height equal to 40 pixels, width to 100 pixels, display flex direction row, align items center, and display flex. And let's remove user select. None. Alright. So as you can see, we have a data container. Inside of data containers we'll have bars and labels, and if user want to see scroller, we'll have scroller right here. So let's go to our example. Let's open our browser and let's check these elements. We have data container. Inside of data container we have bars container and labels container and scroller right here. And let's also check that width and height are determined. Let's first import height from this state, and in our state let's define it like this, width and height. Now let's check this out in our browser. So at the start we have width and height equal to 0, then we know width but don't know height, and in the third render we know both width and height. And this is all for this part. In next part we are going to render bars.